I'm Andre Huey and welcome to the latest edition of the SKN Newsline Newscast.
A former permanent secretary on St. Kitts has been found guilty of an indecent assault charge. SK Newsline's Glenn Bart reports.
According to information reaching SKN Newsline, former permanent secretary Stanley Knight was found guilty on a charge of indecent assault. At the trial held at the Sir Lee Llewellyn Moore Judicial and Legal Services Complex, a jury on 27 September returned a guilty verdict in a case stemming from a 2018 incident. At the time, Knight reportedly indecently assaulted a young lady at his government office on the 31st of October 2018. The victim reported the matter to the police and Knight was arrested and charged on the 13th November 2018. Knight was remanded to Her Majesty's prisons to await sentencing, and a social inquiry report is expected to be carried out prior to his date of sentencing. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Women-owned microbusinesses said to be the main beneficiaries of Tourism Business Adaptation Program. SK Newsline's Jacinthia Teixeira reports.
Minister of Tourism, Transport and Ports, Lindsay Grant, said the Ministry of Tourism held a future tourism business adaptation program to train 46 primarily women-headed micro, small and medium enterprises in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Minister Grant was at the time making his address for World Tourism Day on September 27th. The program is jointly funded by the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, the University of the West Indies, UE, and the Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, covering concepts such as digital technologies, financial planning, and marketing. Minister Grant stated that the purpose of this program was to ensure our human capacity development agenda keeps pace with the rapidly evolving and dynamic industry. Both internal staff and external stakeholder businesses have been participating in a number of virtual and face-to-face seminars that have provided practical insight into the future of the work in the sector and technologies for transitioning to the new normal that will define the industry. He said the first phase of the 18-month-long program ends in September of this year.
Starting in June, for example, the Ministry of Tourism facilitated the participation of 46 primarily women-headed micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, in the Federation, in the Future Tourism Business Adaptation Program. The training initiative is jointly funded by the United Nations Development Program, the UNDP, the University of the West Indies, and the Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, covering concepts such as digital technologies, financial planning, and marketing. The first phase of the 18-month-long program ends in September of this year. In this period of recovery, this training is indeed timely and practical to help these vulnerable businesses adapt to increased demands for enhanced health and safety practices. Use of blockchain technologies such as mobile payment systems, digitalized tourism services, and other platforms which will expand visitor choices, spur innovation and development, and facilitate access to markets within the tourism value chains. Moreover, the program complements core projects already being implemented by the ministry and is aligned with key UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, that promote gender equality, poverty reduction, and support for sustainable cities and communities.
Minister Grant said that promoting gender equality, poverty reduction, and support for sustainable cities and communities remain the Ministry of Tourism's mandate and mission as the Federation continues on the journey to rebuild and reinvigorate the local tourism sector. I am Jacinthia Teixeira for SK Newsline.
A call for new tools for measuring the country's development.
Hold on, stop. Think about the drink before you take a drop. Read up on the label on the back. They say science sugar low and fat, but don't be fooled by that. Drink some water, share some love. Tell your body you're sweet enough. Drink some water, share some love. Tell somebody you're sweet enough. Drink some water, share some love. Tell your body you're sweet enough. Drink some water, share some love. Tell somebody, hey.
If you're looking for a one-stop shop for all your electronics, you only have two stores to choose from: Island Electronics on 4th Street, Bastille, and Smart Electronics at Port Zante. At Island Electronics, you have some of the top brands in electronics, from the top-of-the-line smartphones, Samsung and iPhone, laptop computers, smart TVs, washing machines, small appliances, phone accessories, refrigerators, and so much more. Brands include Whirlpool, Samsung, Black & Decker, HP, and much more. Island Electronics is located in the heart of Bastille. Make it easy for you to access and shop. You can also choose to shop at Smart Electronics. Get the same great deals and quality products, the widest array in smartphones, including the latest Samsung Z Fold, smart TVs, and simply the best in household appliances like stoves, refrigerators, washing machines, even dishwashers. At Smart Electronics, get products for your leisure: headphones, video games, from Nintendo Switch to PlayStation 5, Bluetooth speakers, and much more. It's so hot these days. Well, at Smart Electronics, you can buy fans or air conditioners. And the brands that Smart Electronics carry are simply the best: JBL, Beats, Whirlpool, Amazon, LG, Samsung, HP, Dell, RCA, and many more. You can choose to buy cash or on layaway. So if you're looking for electronic stores with the best deal and quality, Island Electronics and Smart Electronics are your only choices. Choose the store of your convenience. Contact them today. Smart Electronics at 466-4271 or WhatsApp 668-2818, or Island Electronics at 665-8677. Two stores, one great experience.
An open interactive event can be described as
tremendous, effective,
on par with any conference around the world.
From exhibitions to trade shows, corporate events to product launches, from press events to political functions. We are the secret sauce behind events that make you go, wow. We've staged multiple world-class events in the Caribbean and developed the skill to deliver quality in every detail, whether the event is live or fully virtual, or maybe even somewhere in between. At Open Interactive, we got your events covered. Get your free quotation today at www.madebyopen.com.
Welcome back. In a recent address to the United Nations General Assembly, St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris has called for new tools for measuring a country's development. Glenn Bart has more.
A much-used benchmark for measuring development, GDP per capita, is simplistic and flawed, said Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris when he addressed the 2021 United Nations General Assembly. According to the Prime Minister, the GDP per capita measurement used to determine aid and financial support prevents countries like St. Kitts and Nevis from accessing critical development assistance. He called for the consideration of adopting a new measure of development.
Another barrier to development that we face is the criteria employed to determine aid and financial support. This singular benchmark for measuring development, GDP per capita, is critical, but sadly, due to bias and the omission of factors, it is, in my view, simplistic and flawed. For St. Kitts and Nevis, it ignores vulnerabilities, and it prevents us from accessing critical development assistance. A set of more adequate and relevant measures encompassing social, environmental, climate-related, and economic factors should be used to regulate entitlements. The use of a multidimensional vulnerability index, for example, would be a far better judge of development than simply GDP per capita.
The current measurement of development prevents many developing countries from accessing development finance at concessionary rates. Glenn Bart for SK Newsline.
Skinniper has broken ground on a new park to be located at 5 Ways. More in this report from Jacinta Teixeira.
The St. Kitts Nevis National Youth Parliament Association, SKNYPA, hosted a groundbreaking ceremony on Saturday, September 25, 2021 for Phase 1 of the SKNYPA Vision Park at 5 Ways in the vicinity of the CFBC and Icons Park, Bastille, St. Kitts. The SKNYPA Vision Park will be an eco-friendly space where people in the community and the nearby college students can go to socialize, relieve stress, and have a healthy space to relax and enjoy the scenery. The park will also educate and promote the vision of SKNYPA and increase the level of awareness of the association's work. The Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis sponsored the initiative and presented a check for EC $2,000 to Ms. Patrice Harris, immediate past president, and Mr. Hanif Charles, chair of the anniversary committee. I am Jacinta Teixeira for SKN Newsline.
When we come back, U.S. President Joe Biden takes responsibility for the treatment of Haitian migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border.
Hi there. Have you been looking for the perfect oil for healthier scalp and hair? Well, look no further than CNA 100% natural Jamaican castor oil. The CNA brand comes in 5 different options: moringa, rosemary, oregano, original, and lemongrass.
Purchase CNA Naturally Good Castor Oil at CJ's Craft and Things, Sugartown Organics, both in Pelican Mall, Stepping Shoe Store on 4th Street, Cindy's and the Seventh-day Adventist Book Center on Keon Street, and Paris Pharmacy in Westbourne Gut. Also available on Nevis. Call for details 760-8719 or email candanaturallygood4@gmail.com.
Call them today. Get yours. Try it. I promise you, you won't ever regret it.
Want to buy some fresh fruits, vegetables, or ground provision, but don't have the time to go to the market or even to find parking? Look no further. Green Market and Delivery is your solution. Green Market and Delivery is an e-commerce store that sells and delivers local produce to customers in St. Kitts and Nevis. Anything you purchase, you can get fresh from the market and delivered directly to your door. Log on to www.greenmarketskn.com. Click on the e-store link, choose your items, and shop away. We have a wide array of products from fruits, vegetables, local products, spices and seasonings, and much more. Save time and energy. Shop on greenmarketskn.com, your one-stop shop for fresh local produce.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
Are you ready to create high-performing TV commercials?
Ready.
Ready. Ready. Create and tell compelling stories. Reach your target audience. And build brand awareness. Our strategies and execution will provide for your desired outcome and clearly represent your brand. Visit us at www.madebyopen.com and get started on your creative video commercial today. Lights, camera, Open Interactive.
Auto Plus Car Wash, located on the College Street Gut, Bastille, St. Kitts. Bring your car to Auto Plus Car Wash to remove water stains, wiper marks. Get your doors, roof panel cleaned, seat floor mats, buffing, headlights, and engine wash. You get quality service at the best price at Auto Plus Car Wash. They really care for your car. Call 765-5140 or visit them on College Street, Bastyr, St. Kitts. Auto Plus Car Wash, where the service is number one.
The Barbados health system is under pressure due to increase in COVID-19 cases, forcing the government there to begin looking to private health institutions to assist with the patient overload. Barbados Today reports.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is now enlisting the services of private medical facilities to service private COVID-19 facilities, including a new isolation hotel. Word of this from the minister in charge of that sector, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic. It comes as the country continues to see a record rise in COVID-19 cases and related deaths.
The recent surge, and especially the last 4 or 5 days, really has put us under some tremendous pressure, where we are challenged at the moment, and we do not think that we can sustain the current operation that we are mounting based on the use of institutionalized isolation facilities. And the Prime Minister would have hinted at this. I've spoken to this about a week or so ago, where we are looking, and this was always part of the plan, to some home isolation and home quarantine in specific circumstances that we believe would allow us to be able to do so, to be able to take some of the strain off of the institutional facilities. And that is there. It is something that we have to move to as soon as possible to be able to take the pressure off the facilities.
Minister Bostic revealed that the public health system is not only running out of physical space to house the sick, but also the human resources to look after them.
The recent surge, and especially the last 4 or 5 days, really has put us under some tremendous pressure, where we are challenged at the moment, and we do not think that we can sustain the current operation that we are mounting based on the use of institutionalized isolation facilities. And the Prime Minister would have hinted at this. I've spoken to this about a week or so ago, where we are looking, and this was always part of the plan, to some home isolation and home quarantine in specific circumstances that we believe would allow us to be able to do so, to be able to take some of the strain off of the institutional facilities. And that is there. It is something that we have to move to as soon as possible to be able to take the pressure off the facility.
U.S. President Joe Biden says he bears responsibility for the harsh treatment of Haitian migrants on the United States border with Mexico. The president promised that border guards will pay after they were filmed using horse reins against people trying to cross over from Mexico. Al Jazeera's Kimberly Halkett reports.
Women, this is why your country because you're using women for this.
Al Jazeera's pictures of Haitian refugees being rounded up by U.S. agents at the southern border with Mexico have made headlines for days. They've prompted several suspensions and at least one Biden administration resignation. After days of silence, the U.S. president finally addressed the Haitian refugees' mistreatment.
Of course I take responsibility. I'm president, but it was horrible what to see, as you saw. To see people treated like they did, horses barely running them over, people being strapped, it's outrageous.
Biden has faced heavy criticism for his administration's border response, even from within his own Democratic Party. The images of white men on horses chasing down black people has been compared to images from the slave era, angering many African Americans.
I'm pissed. I'm unhappy, and I'm not just unhappy with the cowboys who were running down Haitians and using their reins to whip them. I'm happy with the administration.
Biden's promised investigations into the southern border incident, but it won't stop the flow of migrants, not just from Haiti, but from all over Central America and increasingly the world, now amassing in huge numbers, a problem that has confounded U.S. officials for years.
The fact that this is a situation that has occurred from time to time ever since I can remember, first and foremost and most fundamentally and foundationally, we are dealing with a broken immigration system, and we need legislative reform.
But Biden's problems don't end at the border. This week, his promise to Black Americans to reform policing in America failed on Capitol Hill. The president also had to repair a diplomatic spat with President Macron after leaving France out of a new security arrangement with the UK and Australia.
Take a look at what I inherited when I came into office. The state of affairs. Part of it is dealing with the panoply of things that were landed on my plate.
And things are about to get even more difficult. If a deal can't be reached with congressional Republicans to keep the government open, also looming over this White House, the threat of a government shutdown. Kimberly Helkett, Al Jazeera, the White House.
The UK government says it's working to ensure fuel supply issues are resolved following days of long queues, with many forced to close. Pressure is on the government to solve the problem as tension increases, and polls suggest voters believe the government is mishandling the crisis. Al Jazeera's Andrew Simons reports from London.
A new working week, and this isn't the normal London morning gridlock. The fuel station here ran dry 2 days ago. It's been waiting for this moment. Tanker drivers are in short supply, not the fuel. Whatever, the result's the same. Misery for some, not panic buying. Ada Babatovci ran out of fuel 100 meters from the petrol pumps after a search that started in the early hours.
And I was very emotional, so I cried. I cried with all this. It's absolutely unnecessary. I cried and I feel so emotional. I think probably a lot of people were going through a similar way.
Lives disrupted. This driving instructor trying to get fuel to prepare his learners for their driving tests.
I've got about 5-6 tests coming up between now and next week. So I was really and truly terrified what might happen for these guys' test. So I've been going around like headless chicken around London. Nothing.
An opinion poll suggests that more than 60% of voters feel the government is mishandling the situation, and some of the messaging from ministers isn't helping the public mood.
The only reason that we have an issue at the moment with some petrol stations not having petrol in the forecourts is that people are buying petrol and they wouldn't. The most important thing everyone can do is just get back to normal, fill their cars up as they normally would, and not buy petrol unless they need it.
It would seem to be wishful thinking that this crisis is going to go away without government action. Crisis? What crisis has been the government's stance up to now? Now it's changing because people don't like being referred to as panic buyers in a situation such as this. There is a tide of public dissent. And so the pressure is on the government as the tension on the forecourts increases. Some companies have introduced rationing. Competition measures have been stopped so that fuel companies can cooperate on logistics. Another move the government has made is to try backing up UK tanker drivers with foreigners no longer able to work here because of Brexit. Short-term visas are available for 5,000 foreign truck drivers. It isn't guaranteed to work. Andrew Simons, Al Jazeera, London.
Well, earlier I spoke to Tom Reddy. He's a lorry driver and also a transport consultant at Green Candle Traction. He says the UK's temporary visa scheme is an option, but that it's simply not enough.
We've always had an ageing generation of truck drivers in this country. The younger demographic aren't taking up the positions because it's not particularly appealing in terms of the working hours, the poor conditions. Pay does play a part in it, but it's not the whole story. We do expect a lot from our truck drivers in the UK, and we need to start looking at the overall structure of the role and the structure of the industry to see because otherwise, if nothing changes, there's not going to be a future for truck drivers in the UK. It's not a job people want to do in the 21st century. It's a difficult situation, but the writing has been on the wall for the transport industry for 10, 15 years or more in terms of the shortage. The build up to Brexit, again, we could see what was coming around the corner. And the industry have been quite vocal in what they were concerned about. And now we're seeing the very, very acute effects, the eye of the storm, if you like, with the situation. There's no easy way out and there's no quick fix. And what we're doing now in terms of the measures taken, the visa situation, talk of the armed forces supporting, it's all very, very questionable about where we go from here.
American R&B singer R. Kelly has been found guilty of several counts of sex trafficking and racketeering charges over the past 20 years in the United States. Al Jazeera's Victoria Gattenby reports.
He was one of the biggest R&B recording artists of a generation. Now R. Kelly faces spending the rest of his life in jail after being found guilty on all counts at a trial in New York.
Today's guilty verdict forever brands R. Kelly as a predator who used his fame and fortune to prey on the young, the vulnerable, and the voiceless for his own sexual gratification.
The attorney who represented many Me Too survivors says Kelly is the worst abuser of them all.
Today, R. Kelly has been convicted of very serious federal crimes. Mr. Kelly, who once described himself as a, quote, genius, end quote, to one of my clients who testified, is nothing but a convicted felon.
The 54-year-old singer had faced accusations of sexual assault against young women and children for decades, but seemed almost untouchable. The music industry and the media now stand accused of turning a blind eye to allegations made against him for far too long.
I would say that he was definitely protected. The boys and girls that he did, sell and rape. And I would say because he was protected by not only, everybody around him, producers, the music industry itself, everyone knew this was going on and they protected him. So it didn't stop, it increased.
R. Kelly will be sentenced next May and faces decades behind bars. Victoria Gattenby, Al Jazeera.
In sports, we feature Rams Village superstars as we continue the SKNFA feature on the Premier League. No matter how slow Rams Village superstars start a Premier League season, they always find a way to pick things up. This season, however, fans are still waiting for that pickup to happen. Coming off the high of a finals appearance in 2020, which they lost to SL Horsford St. Paul's, Village was hoping to start the season on the right note, to prove to their rivals the finals was an aberration. But they lost some key players who transferred to other teams like Tyrone Hanley, who moved to their central Bastia rivals Hobson Enterprises Garden Hotspurs, and Tyrone's brother, Tahir Hanley, who earned a professional stint in Honduras. Added to that was the departure of their longtime coach Stephen Clark, who enjoyed much success with the team.
I also think you had some injuries in the team. They were looking at much better start in the first round, but they had some injuries. Kimari somersault himself, and later his brother Travis Rogers were injured. So that kind of lessened the potency of the team in the second round. Plus, as you said, a number of the players were on national duty, so that sort of broke the momentum of the team.
Billy Liebert, him being the Rams Village Superstars coach this season for the first time, I think he's been the head coach. But he's someone who's been around village football for quite some time.
Village's coach, Leroy Billy Liebert, is no scrub. He was on Village's coaching staff in 2018 when they won the Premier League title. He also coached Village's West Bastia neighbours, Trafalgar South Stars, last season and kept them in the Premier League against all odds. He too knows the task ahead for Village, but he is confident his players have what it takes to succeed.
Made a few adjustments. We
move a few players in, around in different positions that we thought served our objective well.
When they last won the league with Pedro as the head coach, he was the assistant to Pedro, so he has some coaching experience, and we also what he did last year in the second round for Trafalgar, helping them to stay up in the Premier Division. So he's definitely a good coach. But as Mr. Charles said, when you add him being a new coach of the Rams Village Superstars team, taking over from Stevens, who did it for 2 to 3 years before then, and then you add the injury factor, and then you add the factor of players going after the national team, it would always have been difficult for Rams Village Superstars. They haven't gotten any rhythm thus far in the season. Although they've played and won some games and looked well in some games, it's just not the ideal start for them. But I think this is a team that could be very dangerous in the latter half of the season when the wins would carry more weight.
Village Superstars may have a rough start this season, sitting 5th in the Premier League table, but Village is no fly-by-night club. They know what it takes to win.
Welcome to the SKN Newsline Weather Report. I am Janil Boone. Here is a look at the 4-day forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. For a more detailed weather report, visit our website at www.sknnewsline.com.
This has been the SK Newsline Newscast. I'm Andre Huey. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find more news on our website at www.sknewsline.com, or you can visit our Facebook page. From all of us here at SK Newsline and Channel 95, I'm Andre Huey. Thank you for watching.